Hey guys, so I'm back out in the garage today. We're going to take a look at Lumary high bay lights again. I installed a set in my garage 6 months ago, so I'm talking from experience here. What I'm going to do differently this time is I'm going to show you how to not cut into an existing system, but add on to it. So if you want to have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 high bay lights all connected together, that's what this video is going to be about. And primarily I'm going to show you the phenomenal smart control that you can have over these lights through an app on your phone. So let's take a quick look here at the lighting itself, and I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. Alexa, garage one off.
Okay.
Alexa, garage one on.
Okay.
So that's just, you know, some of the basics. Alexa, garage one, 20%.
Okay.
Okay, so you can also control these lights with a remote control that's battery operated. But the really helpful feature that I found is that there's an app on your phone from Lumary, and you have a lot more control over these lights. So if you want to control a group of 10 lights, you've got smart control over them. And let me just show you. I'll give you an example here, and I'm going to turn the camera around for you. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I've turned garage one off. Through the phone, I've turned garage one on. All of a sudden, I've changed the color temperature of the light from 2700 to about, there's 50% white, there's 100% white, there's 29% intensity, and I've done all that through an app on the phone. And as you saw, you can control it through Alexa or Google Assistant. That's what this video is going to be all about. Let's jump in, we'll get to it. Okay, so let's clarify for those of you that perhaps didn't see my first video on the Lumary lights. Let's clarify what we're doing. So these are Lumary Smart UFO LED high bay lights, and I'm going to do a quick unboxing for you, just, you know, save you the time checking out my other video here. So I'll open this thing up as quick as I can. Try not to cut my fingers off here. Okay, so you get an instruction manual, you get a remote control. So these lights can be controlled by a battery operated remote control, which is kind of cool. Probably stick that in there. Let's get this cardboard stuff out of the way. This is a hook that's going to screw into the light, and then this is what's going to hang on your eye bolt from your ceiling. This is your Bluetooth module. You want to screw this into the light before you plug it into power. That's important. Okay, what else we got here? Here's a power cord, and we got the light itself. Okay, yeah, nothing else in the box, that's great. Set that down out of the way. So, now you can see why it's called a UFO high bay light. It looks like a UFO, you know. Pretty straightforward stuff. So this goes down like this. This guy screws into here. Then there's a screw on the side that once you get this all the way screwed in, you can tighten it in. And then once you hook this onto your eye bolt from the ceiling, you have another screw that will keep it. There's no way this thing is going to come down. And so what you see is pretty much what you get. And you know, for this to work, you have to take this out. So let's do that now. So we're going to need a screwdriver of some description. And I'm just going to unscrew this plug. Set that over to the side. So that plug is right in the center. And then your Bluetooth module here, the little plastic cap on it, you're going to take that off. It's got some plastic threads here. We don't need any Hulk Hogan, you know, excessive force or anything like that. You're just going to screw it in until it's snug, and that's really all there is to it. And now you're ready to go. This has to be plugged into a corresponding receptacle, and you're ready to install this thing. And that's what you're going to see me do in the next step. So let's jump into it. We'll get her done. Okay, so the first thing I've done, there's 4 screws going up into the roof joists or rafters, whatever you want to call them. And when you're working with these kind of wires, the best thing to do is just move them out of the way. I've got 1 screw here and 1 screw here. That's the only thing left holding this plate into the box. And so I can simply get that one off. And should be able to get this one off fairly easily. And you can see the plate's going to come down now. I've got the power off, so I don't have to worry. And the plate's off. Simple as that. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to use one of these plate covers. So I've got an octagon box, and I'm simply going to screw the octagon box to the little screws fittings here on the box. But what I need to do is I'm going to wire up a receptacle like so. And on the receptacle, you've got gold on one side, which is where you're going to connect your black wires to, and you have white on the other side, which is where you're going to connect your neutral wires to. And if you have a ground wire, which I do here, your ground wires can be connected to this green screw here on the receptacle. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, if you're a DIYer and you're comfortable doing electrical work, by all means go ahead and do it. It's not difficult. If you're not comfortable, hire an electrician. Okay, that's, you know, I always tell people that, you know, we're fearful of things for a reason. And the reason we're fearful, that's what keeps us safe. So my advice is, if you're not comfortable doing electrical wiring, don't do it, hire an electrician. But this is pretty straightforward stuff. I got my 2 black wires, 2 white wires, my ground wires. I'm just going to connect them up here. I'm going to hook them into the plate. I'm going to connect it on like so, and that's going to enable us to plug in the UFO high bay light into this box. And we flip the light switch back on, we'll test it, make sure it works. Power is going to flow through the high bay light, and it's going to go on to the other light that's connected over here. So this is how we're cutting into an existing system. Okay, so what I'm going to do to make my first connection, I've just taken a piece of 14-2 wire, and I'm going to connect it to the ground wire here. And I'm just going to use a standard Moret. And you just want to make sure that you've got a good solid connection. And then the first thing we're going to do is going to take the other end of this white wire. I'm just going to snip it off because I just want to put enough of a hook on this so that I can hook it onto my receptacle here. So I'm hooking it onto the the green part of the receptacle, and I like to take a needle nose pliers, just make sure that it bends around. Then I'm taking my screwdriver and I'm going to tighten that up. And that's my first connection to the receptacle. Next thing we want to do Same thing. I'm going to move my 2 white wires out of the way. I'm going to use my pliers and just straighten out the wire a little bit here. Now I'm going to take the black wire here, and I'm going to put my little curl on it so it'll curl around the screw, and you can use needle nose pliers. You can also use crimpers. There's lots of different tools for this, but like so. And now I can simply take my receptacle and I can connect the wires, and I'm going to put them around gold terminal like so. Again, I'm going to use my needle nose pliers and just tighten that around like so. And I'm going to take the other black wire. First, I'm going to tighten this first one up. Make sure I got a good solid connection. And you always want your J-hook to go in the direction that you're tightening the wire. So let's turn this like so. Put that in. Now I can tighten this one. A lot of times when you take the wires off of a pre-existing box, they need a little bit of finessing to get them to curl around the screw. That's okay. We'll tighten that up. And the next thing we have to do, we have to connect the 2 neutral wires, one here and one here. So let's do that. Okay, sometimes what you'll do, the wires on the ends are twisted so much, it's better to just cut them off clean, like so. And then you can use your pliers and just straighten these guys out a little bit. And then you can use your cutters to cut off enough of the insulation. Just pull it off like so. Same thing on this one. Okay, so now we've got 2 bare ends. So now I'm just going to take my 2 pliers here, put a curve in. Actually, I don't think I have enough insulation off that one, so give that another shot, pull that off. Now I can make my little curl here to go around the screw. Same thing on this wire. Okay. I'm just going to repeat this process. I'm going to hook this around like so. I'll use my screwdriver, tighten this bad boy up. Oh, a little piece of plastic come out of the box there, nothing to worry about. I'm going to hook on the last wire like so. Just going to tighten this up a little bit. Make sure it hooks around. And I can tighten this last connection screw here. And now you can see, so I've got the 2 neutral wires connected, I've got my ground wire connected, and I've got my 2 hot wires on the other side, and that's really all there is to it. Now I'm going to take the wires and fold them up into the box. Here's a pro tip for you, and this is important, is that whenever you're doing wiring on lighting or receptacles or whatever, an amateur, what they'll do is they'll cut off 3 inches of wire to the receptacle and then wonder why they're going to have problems when they're going to push the receptacle back into the box. So what you want to do is you want to leave at least 8 inches from where the wire is coming into the box to where it's going to connect here. So you want to be able to have enough wire so that you can bend all this wiring easily. So the next thing we're going to do is take our plate and attach it to the receptacle. But before we do that, what we want to do is take these screws out on the end because we won't need them. And so we can just take those screws out. Normally we'd use those for going into a typical receptacle, but in this application I won't need them. So I'll take the screws and the tabs. Now I can take my octagon plate like so and screw it to the receptacle. So for that I'm just using a number 1 Robertson and just snug that in. And so now the 2 holes in the plate is what's going to line up with the 2 holes in the box. And so we'll do that and then we'll turn the power on and we'll check and see if we've done a good job. Okay guys, so we've got our receptacle all wired up here and I'm going to give you a little pro tip here. So let me just turn the camera around and let's point this up. So this little gizmo here is a Klein test tool, and it is the handiest thing. It gives you 5 or 6 different indications for hot wires, you know, hot neutral, that kind of thing, but 2 indicators on the bottom right here. That means the receptacle is good. If you're a DIYer and you're doing a little bit of electrical around the house, I cannot tell you how helpful this little Klein Tools thing has been for me over the last 5 years. So I'm going to put a link in the description for you. You can get one of these for yourself. They're not expensive. They're like maybe 35 bucks, something like that. Highly worthwhile. Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to do, we need to take our UFO light and we're just going to plug it into the receptacle. We've switched the power on and off, so we know the power is flowing to the other panel light, which it should be, which is going to be replaced with a high bay light. So now we're just going to do a quick test, plug this in. And voila, we've got power to our light. So we know it's working. So I can unplug this now. And again, I just want to stress this module here, you want to make sure that this is screwed into the high bay light. I have another video that covers how to set this all up. But again, just make sure this module is in place before you plug power into it, before you plug power into the light. Okay folks, we're down to the short strokes. What we have to do now is hook this onto an eye bolt. And I took the liberty of purchasing a 5/16 eye bolt. I've screwed it into one of the roof joists here. I don't know if I'm using the proper terminology. And then now we can take our light like so, hook it through, and we have a screw that we need to put into the J-hook here, and it just prevents any possible opportunity for this thing to come out of the loop and come down and do some harm. Once that's in, just finger tight is all we need. Then we can plug our light in. And that, my friends, is some really bright lights at the moment. Okay guys, so we had a successful installation. As you can see, that light right there is the new one that we installed. So we took out the panel light, we put in the Lumary high bay light, and I've paired it to my phone. I've set it down to, I think I've got it, it's only at 17% brightness. So let's just crank it up and give you guys a, holy, that lightens things up quite a bit. One thing I like about these lights, there's 10% brightness. So you got total control over the lighting through the smart app on your phone. That to me is fantastic. So my end goal is to have, that'll be the first light. I'll put one over here, which is the second, 3, and 4. So there'll be 4 lights in the garage here. I'll have total control. And if we're watching that light, here, let me turn this up for a second. Okay, that's a lot brighter. All of a sudden things got orange. What's going on? Vintage, sepia tone. So you've got 3 buttons that you can adjust. So there's the sepia tone. There's 50% white. There's 100% white. And you can vary the intensity. You can name the lights in the app. You can have Alexa control them. It doesn't get any better than this. So let's move on to the next step. Okay guys, we've got our wiring done. We've got our high bay light installed. And I think the next thing to look at is, how do you control these lights? Well, you can control them with a light switch. You can control them with the included remote control, which is pretty easy to set up. You just walk through the step-by-step in the instruction manual and set this up, and you have control over your lights this way. But I think the key is the smart control, because the smart control app, and I'll just show it to you here, this is what gives you total control over your lights. So again, I can just turn the lights off. I can turn them on. I can tap and have that nice sepia tone come into play, 50% white. You know, there's just, I can change the intensity of the light. And so this is what I want to focus on now. So I've got the light that we just installed, okay? It's set up in the app. And what it looks like, it's the one at the top there. It just says Garage 3. But now we need to get it set up to another device which is not included with the high bay lights. This is something you purchase separate. It's called the Lumary Zigbee and BLE Mesh Mini Hub. And it's that hub that allows you to connect to Alexa or Google Assistant. And so what I'm going to do now is give you an overhead shot. I've got Garage 3 lights set up here. I want to do an overhead shot so you can see exactly what I'm going to do to get this overhead light set up with the hub, and then we'll be off to the races. Okay, so let's see if we can get connected with our Lumary Zigbee and BLE Mesh Mini Hub. Okay, so because I have Alexa in the garage, what we're going to do is log into the Lumary app. And we'll just cover this while Paul enters his passcode. There we go. Okay. Tap the smart device, enter, click. So what we're going to do is tap the smart device, tap Alexa in the third-party control. So what you have to do is next is type this pen icon at the top here, and then we're going to go into third-party control, Alexa, and already linked with Amazon Alexa. So that's because my other two lights are already linked. So what we'll do is back out. And let's go to our Lumary Zigbee app. And we want to add a device. So we're going to click on Add a Device. Now we're going to click on Associate Bluetooth Devices. And look at, there's our Garage 3, there's our remote control. I'm not too worried about the remote. We want to use Garage 3. And now I'm going to confirm whether to add to gateway. Add to an existing gateway, you can control no more notice, immediately to join. So I'll press that, and it's going to take a second or two. One devices were successfully added. Okay, so now we can test it. We'll just go back here. So it's Garage 3, that's the one we did the installation on. And so, Alexa, Garage 3 off.
Okay.
Alexa, Garage 3 on.
Okay.
Alexa, Garage 3 50%.
Okay.
And there you have it, sports fans. That's really all there is to it. So it's easy peasy to get set up with the hub and or with the Bluetooth side of the device. Okay, folks, so let's wrap up this little soiree into the Lumary high bay lighting situation in my garage here. As you can see in the picture, I've got the 4 lights installed now, so everything's functioning properly. And right now, the 4 lights are at 10%. My garage is about just under 10 feet tall. And so let me give you a little demonstration here. And again, I'm just going to use the Lumary app here. And I'm currently at 10% with the 4 lights. And that's 100%. So there's 20, there's 12. So if you're like me or a YouTuber, you've got a photography studio, you are going to find these lights invaluable because you can basically set them to whatever you want. You want that nice sepia tone, you want the bright white light, or any increment in between. You're going to have that functionality. You'll be able to connect to Alexa or Google Assistant. I mean, there's just no end to the variables. Now, one thing that I should stress about shooting in an environment like this, I've got window light coming in, I've got different lights, I've got some panel lights under the shelving there, so you need to white balance your camera before you shoot any video in an environment like this. And so I've got a video on white balancing. So I'm a Sony shooter, so if you got an A7 III, A7 IV, and I'll put a link in the description to that video for you. I'll also put a link to the little test tool that we used. And in closing, I hope that you found these lights interesting. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, kindly hit the subscribe, like, and notification bell for me. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Have a great summer.